multiple trainings on how do you de-escalate students and behavior models and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's absolutely unfortunate that so many people think of CPI as how do I do holds on kids. Because to me, this 75% that we're going to talk about today and what do you do before you even have to get to a hold is the best model I've seen anywhere that gives staff really clear ideas of what do you do in certain situations with kids. And I think it's unfortunate that so often people go, yeah, whatever, I learned how to do holds, now I'm good. So I'm not teaching you holds today. We're doing that front 75% chunk instead. And basically the big piece that we're going to be focusing on in this training, and hopefully you're somewhat familiar with this image. This is called the integrated experience. If you filled out any of our behavior sheets, the online forms, hopefully you're familiar with this image because this is how those forms were developed. So when the inclusion team worked on that, we spent time analyzing this whole concept. And that's actually how the form was put together to provide those responses. Now I completely understand that 20% of our staff have gone through this training, yet we told everybody you're all supposed to fill out the form and know what the heck you're supposed to be doing. That's why they decided we're doing this training this year, and it's mandatory for all staff. So now you will be more informed as you go back to know how that form should be filled out. So another little piece of background, just so you know a little bit more about my history. Before I even got into the field of community education, I went through CPI quite a bit. I was working at a center that was a day treatment facility. So those of you who are familiar with the Journey and Focus program that we have here as a part of the district, it was a center very much like that. So working with students who go through crises regularly. So we were very, very active in our, not only the 75% of what you get out of the CPI training, but unfortunately having to do quite a bit of the hold side too. So I'll share some experiences as we go through our training today to kind of let you know my process as I was learning more about this and where I started to identify it in my work, and share that with you as we go through so you understand where that's coming from. Luckily, I've never had to go through any of this with Teresa and Jenny and Wendy. Luckily, we stay off of this chart, so I haven't had to do much of that in my time in the new position, but occasionally with Teresa. First thing I'd like you to do is just as a little conversation at your table. Hopefully you all know who each other are, so you don't have to do any introductions, but what I'd like you to do is just have a little conversation about what's something in your life that when it happens, it can absolutely alter your mood. Okay? The example I'll give you from me, this is one that my wife knows it'll absolutely wreck my day if this happens. I'm in the car. I'm driving along, and somebody else outside of my car does an aggressive move or does an aggressive gesture, and it doesn't even have to be to me. I can see it happen to another car as I'm driving. It will wreck my mood for the rest of that, at least that trip, if not the rest of my morning. And I'll just dwell on it. And why would you do that? Why would you be that angry about somebody that was maybe going a little slow, or maybe you don't understand why they didn't know that they didn't have their blinker on or something, and I'll just analyze it, and I just dwell and dwell and dwell, and it's gotten to the point that my wife knows if she sees it, she knows, okay, Corey's going to be upset for a little while here in the car. I now know I'm not going to have that tough conversation while we're sitting in the car because Corey's going to be hanging on to some of this about that thing that he just saw in the traffic situation. So that's an example. What I'd like you to do is each of you have an opportunity to go around your table and just share something like that for you in your life that when something happens, it alters your mood. One caveat, please do not talk about anybody that works for our program. Make it outside the program. Yeah, right, exactly. Okay, go ahead.